Today I'm going to give you 5 tips to speed up your chord changes. Stick around. Hello everyone, it's James from Practice Like a Pro, providing you with simple, clear guitar tips to help you on your guitar playing journey. So in today's video I'm going to give you 5 tips to speed up your chord changes. These tips will help, but it's a grind. It's one of the hardest things when you first get going with guitar because you literally can't play anything else to relieve the stress. So implement these tips, keep grinding, it will come. My first tip is to pick 3 or 4 chords for a 3 or 4 chord song and just work on those. If you're at I really dislike the thought of somebody going into a guitar shop, buying a guitar, and the first thing that they see is the 1,000 guitar chords you must know book or something similar to that. I think you'd be far better off just picking 3 or 4 chords and bossing those, getting so good at those chords, then move on to 3 or 4 more, and then 3 or 4 more. If you're trying to learn 12 chords, like let's say, I'm paraphrasing, I'm picking up off the top of my head, but let's say there's 12 kind of cowboy chords. I call them cowboy chords, the open chords, you know, G, C, D, etc. Let's say there's 12 of those that you've got to learn. Rather than trying to tackle all 12, then look at a song. Find a song with some chords that you like and work on those chords first. Condense your effort down into one little bit and you'll see far much more. You'll see far more progress with that as opposed to trying to tackle all 12 and having 12 mediocre sounding ones. Find 3 or 4 ones that you really want to learn to play, Bad Moon Rising, Wonderful Tonight, Brown Eyed Girl, whatever it is, and put all your energy into those. You'll see far better results. My second tip is little and often. So you could practice G, C and D for an hour every day. And yeah, you'd see progress in it, but you also get really cheesed off with it. Try and break it into little chunks. Now, if you're at the very beginning of your guitar playing, 10 minutes, once or twice a day, and get in those shapes, because it's this thing called muscle memory. You'll hear other people on the internet talk about muscle memory. It's getting that connection between your brain and your fingers to recognise D, C, G, and be able to sort of turn on a sixpence, so to speak, between these shapes. Also practice them methodically. Okay, let's say you've got G, C and D that you're working on for Brown Eyed Girl, let's say. Practice G to C, practice G to D, practice C to G, C to D. Jumble it up and keep it interesting. Now, there's another great guitar player, guitar teacher on YouTube. I'm sure if you're watching me, you'll know he is, an Australian fella called Justin Guitar. He has this thing called 1-minute changes that I use with my students in my teaching space. That's amazing confidence boost. You don't have to do it every time that you practice, but keep track of how many changes you're getting in a minute, and you'll be able to see the trajectory moving up, providing you put the work in. My third tip is get the chords right before you start trying to strum. Many a student sit in this chair over here in my teaching space, and they go, oh yeah, I've been working on Brown Eyed Girl, and they haven't really got the chords, and they haven't really got the strumming. So again, it kind of harps back to tip number 1. If you're not getting a clean G chord, trying to add into it as well is just confusing the job. I'm not saying don't play along to the records, but if you're struggling to get to that G to C quick enough, opt for a much simpler strumming pattern, because this comes after. You'll know strumming's difficult enough as it is without having to bounce around a load of chord shapes. So why don't we just strum 4 beats to the bar? Instead of going, why don't we go? And we can really focus on what's going on with his left hand. Once you're confident with that, then we have a look at the strumming. My fourth tip is use the tips of your fingers. So a lot of people play with this kind of where the fingerprint is of the finger, and that's where they'll fret the notes. Now what happens is you get a load of dead strings. So what I'd much rather you do is you sort of push your wrist out a little bit. You see what I'm doing here? So that you're using the very, very tips of your fingers. And that stops you from catching strings either side of it. So like a C chord, for example, if I play with the tips of my fingers, nice and clear. If I use the fingerprint, now obviously I'm over exaggerating this, but you might play a C chord, and let's say that first fret on the B string, if you're not using the tip of your finger, you'll catch the high E string and it won't be able to vibrate. So really use the tips of your fingers, and also think about your posture. Now, rather than sort of stooping over the guitar, I like dreadnought guitars, but I'm a big dude, I'm 6'2", so I can sort of sit comfortably with a dreadnought guitar. Try not to do this, or have your guitar like this and sort of trying to get a better view of the chords, because what's happening is you're sort of making your spine do that, and it's not good for you. Saying that, I'm sat with my leg crossed at the minute, but it's comfy, hey ho, whatever. Try and sort of have the neck ever so slightly elevated, and drop the shoulder for your fretting hand. Yeah, tension. You can hear tension in people's playing. Try and sort of loosen up a little bit, and I should be able to take a pencil, and there should be a gap between the bottom of your hand and the bottom of the neck. If you're holding it like a cricket bat, no wonder you're struggling. My final tip is visualize the shape. So I don't know if you've noticed in sort of previously in the video, I talk about a D chord, a G chord, a C chord, an E minor chord, an F chord. I'm a very, very visual learner, and a lot of people that I teach are as well. And if I can't close my eyes and see the chord diagram, I'll put one on screen for you. If I can't see that shape, I'm not going to get to it in a hurry. You know, I'm not going to get to it anywhere near as quick as I need to. When I teach younger kids like a D chord, I call it the pizza chord, because it's a triangle, it looks like a slice of pizza, but which is so silly, something like that. But they all know a D chord and they can all play it. You know, it's silly little things like that. Or let's say you've got G, you've got D, you've got C, and you try to do F major 7. Well, I describe that to students as it's like a C chord, but you've got to have a little bit of a shuffle around, and instead of a 3-finger chord, it's a 4-finger chord. If you can visualize the shape, it works with scales as well. You know, if you can imagine, you need a great exercise. I'll give you a bonus tip because I'm going off on a tangent. I do this all the time. Apologies. So you could get a piece of paper and draw sort of the grid like guitar diagrams come on. If you can do that, draw that grid, just rough, it don't have to be anything fantastic. Can you actually put the dots where they're supposed to be? So let's say a D chord. You start with a blank canvas. Without me giving you any tips, would you be able to draw where the fingers go and tell me which fingers go where? That's a great exercise when you can't actually practice with the guitar and just kind of doodling. Something like that would be a great opportunity to practice outside of actually making noise with your instrument. I hope those tips helped. If they did, let us know in the comments. If you've got any more that you've found, please do share it with the community. If you enjoyed today's lesson, please do consider subscribing. We do 3 guitar lessons a week. And if you want to learn something else, have a look at some of these videos. Until I see you next time, thank you very much. Keep practicing like a pro. Cheers.